Thank you, guys. Get everyone up. They're coming. I see it's happening. It's happening. They're going around. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you for being here. Thanks, everyone, for your videos. Beautiful. All right, hi everyone. Thank you all again for coming tonight. Thank you to everyone for bringing your great videos and showing them. It's cool to see so many different styles of music video back to back. It shows there's like no one way to present a music video. All right, so before we start, I'm gonna have everyone go down the line. We're gonna have to share microphones, and if you could introduce yourselves and tell us what you do. And then Dan Kwan used to open every WDMV meeting with a really bad icebreaker. So since we're in New York, if you tell us, if you were a bagel, which bagel you would be at with toppings. You can describe it with toppings too. You can choose anything. The world is your oyster. So, well, you want to start, Blythe? Yeah. You look ready to go.
Oh man, my name's Blythe. I'm a music video director and photographer, and I've been doing kind of all sorts of things in music for about 10 years now. And kind of had my start in Nashville and then moved here a few years ago. And I guess an everything bagel, because that seems like a vibe to some degree. Everything everywhere.
Yeah, all at once. Hi everybody, I'm Sontenish Myers. I'm a writer, director. I did the Tank and the Bangas video. I come from a film narrative background, and music videos are a very happy playground, so I'm really happy to be here. And just like, oh my God, an audience experience to music videos is so rare, so this is just fire, so thank you for having us. Yeah, New York on New York, so I'm gonna do a bacon, egg, and cheese with an everything bagel.
I'm Steve Gottlieb. I commission music videos, which means I find the directors, I get everything contracted, I make sure everything goes as it should, or as we hope, from beginning to end. And I don't know what my bagel is. I'm gonna go sesame, open some doors.
Hey, I'm Dean Rosen. I'm the COO of a company called Fella. We're a Toronto and LA-based production company. I guess I signed the contracts that you send over and asked you to change them. Yeah.
But we don't change them.
Yeah, you don't change them, yeah. And I would be a gluten-free bagel.
Hi, I'm Josefine Cardoni. I'm a director and photographer. If I was a bagel, I'd be... I was going to say sesame too, but then you said it, and now I feel like I can't say that anymore.
There's only so many bagels.
That's just like what I do. Egg, cheese, avocado, tomato with chipotle mayo. That's my bodega order. So there you go. Try it out.
My name's Alex, part of the directing duo Brother, without the vowels. I'm kind of a cinnamon raisin, like cream cheese, toasted, like, you know, that kind of vibe, you know? Like, it's a good vibe.
My name's Kyle. I'm also half of the directing duo Brother. And my bagel would be everything with vegetable cream cheese.
I'm gonna go poppy seed with lox and cream cheese. Okay, I want to start with Steven, because I think commissioning is the beginning of the music video process, and a lot of people don't know all of the time what a commissioner does on a video. So I think it'd be interesting if you can tell us, from your perspective, what the responsibilities of a commissioner are, and the Demi Lovato video that you brought in, what the process was like working with a movie studio on that one. A video where you have high caliber talent and a studio and the record label? How do you navigate, as a commissioner, all of those different relationships?
Do I get all 45 minutes here or just?
You get 30 seconds. starting now.
Basically, the first thing to figure out is what the goal is. What are you trying to make? What do you want to make? What's your brief? Like, you know, what are we trying to accomplish? And then finding the right directors who are willing to join us on that project, which can be a process. And then once you actually get to it, you actually have to then make the fucking thing. And that's a process. So in the case of like the Scream video, we had a lot of stakeholders. We had a record label to deal with. We had a big artist. We had a movie studio. We had a production company. So we were getting notes from left and right. We had to put in movie footage that we weren't allowed to see. So it's all about finding solutions and working through the process and making sure that you wind up with something that's not totally compromised and something that meets everyone's goals and everyone walks away happy. And that's how it works, ideally.
So also at the beginning of the process, when we start the contracting stage, and maybe Dean, if you want to talk about this a bit. So we direct music videos. We worked in the UK. Ian Pons Jewell was kind of the main person across this, but renegotiating contracts on like an industry-wide level there, and it was adopted a couple years ago. There's been sort of like similar attempts and discussions made in the US, but it's been a lot harder to corral that discussion with all of the major labels. And I'm wondering, from the contracting stage, are there things that Fellow works at or that directors can request to put into contracts at an early level that might protect them across making the video?
Yeah, it's a tricky process. I think namely because music videos happen on such a short timeline, and before you've actually gotten the contract or signed it, you've been already preparing it. The award, which means like greenlighting the video, usually happens for various reasons, like at the very last minute, and you kind of say like, hey, I need it, drop dead deadline by Friday, hopefully you get it then. So when you're in that position, it is hard to have leverage because your back's already against the wall. Typically, I try to fight for fair cancellation policies, so that, you know, it sounds crazy, but a lot of the contracts we get, like, it says, like, if you prepare for 2 weeks and we cancel the video the day before, send me all the money back. And the money's, spent. So that's usually my biggest flag. And then for directors, I definitely try to make sure if there's cancellation that, you know, they're going to get at least part of their fee. But, you know, time is always the enemy because everything moves so fast. So we do our best, and, you know, there's always back and forth, but hopefully you land in an amicable place. And I will say, you know, it's my job to look out for, like, worst case scenario in the contract, but typically with commissioners, you know, you don't always go point at the contract. I don't think I've ever seen that happen. So there's always, some fair play, which is good.
I think people don't realize often that a lot of music videos are even like being made without contracts sometimes.
I mean, we're shooting something tomorrow, and the contract just went out an hour ago.
Yeah. Yeah, when I first started in videos, we would do stuff where, we would like shoot the video on credit cards. Like the money would come 3 days after the shoot for the video. So I think that it's always like a challenge. Alex and Kyle, in the pitching process, when you guys are putting something together, you have such a strong visual style that's become, I think, like quite a signature of your work. What did that look like early on for you when you first were approaching artists before something was so identifiably a brother video in the first couple of years of your guys' work?
So early on, I mean, we would kind of like we would reach out to artists sometimes. Like if we liked the song, that was a big, inspiration for us. So we would kind of like let the song marinate with us and start to kind of come up with ideas and, basically put together a treatment from that. But yeah, I would say the music was the most inspiring thing, especially early on. That's kind of what drove our ideas, basically.
Also, like early on, we were super young. We were like, I was like 20, Kyle was 21. We were just happy to pitch on anything. We didn't really know how to do a treatment.
Yeah, there was no contracts when we started.
We were just like, happy to do whatever. But as time went on, we realized like there's a serious business aspect to the whole industry, and we kind of learned as we went. But yeah.
And if any of the other directors also want to talk about this, like putting together a very specific visual style as a director and what that looks like when you're building that early on in your work, and because I think the sort of importance of that moving forward in the industry and building out your work as a director is having a sort of calling card style that people can easily recognize and identify, and that's what they come to you for. But then also that being somewhat malleable. Is that something that you guys have worked towards in your work, do you feel like, or are working towards? And should people be? Sontenish? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm sure patterns can be detected, once you make a number of things. But I feel like I'm always trying to contort to the sound of something, and the aesthetic that the song is calling for, and the artist as well. Like, so the artists are so different, and so I'm really always trying to contort myself. And music videos are such a great place to try new things and to stretch. But I think mine are probably more thematic and genre-wise. Like, give me an excuse to do something fantastical or like mythological, and I will try and do that. But I do look for. But then, like, for example, I did like a jazz music video after that, and I had to do something completely different, and that was shot like black and white, very like noir. And so I think the patterns are there, but I'm always trying to contort to the artist.
Yeah, I think like style is just really important. I think the goal for any director is to like be hit up for like what you do and not get hit up and be like, can you do something like this? Like they're reaching out to you because they want you to like do what you do. And it's something that I didn't think about at all when I started directing, to be honest. And now I think about it a little bit more because people have like mentioned it to me, just being like, oh, this is like so up your alley, like this is your style. Oh, you have such like, I saw that video and I like had a feeling you did it, and I was like, oh, like that's honestly like a huge compliment, and I love when I hear that. But I think it's just something, it's like that's just like how I see things, and that's just like how I am. So it's obviously like to each song, to each thing, it's like going to be different, and it's going to be adjusted like within the bounds of what the artist wants, and et cetera, et cetera. But it's just like, this is like my style, and this is like kind of how I like to do things, and this is how I want to do things. So in an ideal world, people are hitting me because they want me to do it like the way I like to do it. But obviously like within like, I agree to like with what Sontenish said, like I love an excuse for music videos to like experiment with things. It's like, oh, well, there's not the biggest budget on this, but like I can try out this thing, which I haven't done before, and like they'll let me do this and like things like that. It's a good place to kind of figure things out, and like I'm still figuring it all out, so yeah.
Blythe, where does it start for you when you get a song in?
I mean, I agree, definitely. If anyone can tell me what my style is, I would love to know, because I have no idea. I came up from the artist side doing, honestly, BTS, kid with a camera stuff. And I was on enough sets and, young enough to be like, I want to do what that person with the monitor is doing. That looks pretty tight. They have a voice. And me and artists would just dream and sketch together, and it was such a balance. And even though it'd probably be great to know more technical stuff early on, I'm super grateful for that experience, because, it always is their song at first. And like you said, it changes every single time. I should recycle treatments. It would save more time, but the slightest things can change something. So you have a song like, I Want to Live in a World Where All Your Exes Are Dead, and you're going to kill some exes in that video a little bit, and you're going to have that inform the style. But me and the artist, we just had a nice trust and a dialogue, and I would say, as I've learned more technical, usually there's always something I want to try. I think, like you said, music videos are a great playground, whether it's playing with color or light or just some sort of camera move, as long as it makes sense. I like to test out certain things. And that's where DPs come in great. Just see what they're excited about too, and have some fun together. But it starts with a song, and then I think as I've gotten a little bit older, you trust artists and their vision, but you have to start to trust yourself at some point too. I had a lot of imposter syndrome and a little bit too much of, well, what do you want to do? And so I think you have to start to trust yourself and your intuitions and your collaborators, and I don't know, just see where the road takes you. But it's kind of fun when it's always different, and you just open yourself up to, just your collaborators and where that can go, but holding that vision true to you too.
How closely did you work with Julia on the concept for that? Because she definitely commits to it, and it feels like it's...
Yeah, that was her first time acting too, which she was super nervous about. But I just pitched blindly and never talked to her. And then, 5 days before they wanted to shoot, we actually shot 2 videos back to back. They were like, okay, we want to do this, and we want to Zoom. And she gave some notes, and it was kind of a dream where she was like, this is kind of what I want to incorporate in your treatment, but like, you're the video person, I'm the music person. And so we found a nice balance and a trust, and we ran, sent her a vision, they signed off. I wanted to talk again the day before, just so she knew with like that. I think, again, sometimes because I come from the artist side, sometimes I'll look at their past work and maybe overthink what they're willing to do or not, because there's so many politics in music videos of, when's too far or not, and we didn't go very far, but just wanting to double check, cross your T's, dot your I's with what they're comfortable with. So we talked just enough, but not to the point where it was, there's some times in the past with different people, you're probably putting in too many hours talking about stuff, overthinking it. So it was a nice balance. We talked like twice.
Josefine, we were talking over there about the guitar solo in your video, and that kind of being like an artist-driven idea. I'm curious, so this is part of 2 videos with Sunflower Bean, right? They're like connected narratives. Did you bring them a sort of master narrative that would be over 2 videos, or was that something that came from them? And then how did you balance working the narrative into the performance elements that also needed to be in?
Yeah, I think this video was like a really interesting one, because instead of being hit up to pitch a concept like normally, I got reached out to, and they had a full story kind of written already. It was like a page, and one of the members of the band, and they kind of all rallied around this. They were like, this is like the story we want to tell within these 2 music videos, and like, here's the reason. So I pitched like more of like a visual direction, and on top of that being like, okay, here's how we're actually like going to make this happen, because they basically just gave me like a Google Doc with a paragraph, and there was no like visuals, there was nothing there, so it was kind of like, okay. And then it was this interesting balance throughout the process, and like a dance of being like, okay, well, you really want this, but like, that's not gonna work. So like, what if we did this instead? And how do we like kind of make this narrative like also make sense? We have to film this, but we only have 2 days to shoot 2 videos and not that much money, and like, how do we make it all work? So it was just like very much like kind of a lot of communication between like me and the band and the manager, but also like trust. They were really trusting in me, and from the get-go they were like, like, this is, we trust you, like, if this is what you say will work, then like, let's do it. And so like, yeah, like the guitar solo was something they're like, we want to do this, and I'm like, But then it was like, okay, how do we make this work? All right, like if we do this, like we got to put this in there and this in there. And I was like, oh, we should have, just to make the story flow and all those things. So I think that's like a very interesting thing when like working with artists who have a very distinct vision for what they want their video to be, is like, how do you fulfill their vision, but also don't get like lost in everything they want and make something that you don't want to make either. Like you still got to, be very upfront and be like, okay, well, this is what's going to work and this is what I think is going to be cool, and kind of balancing that is interesting. And I learned a lot like from that process, definitely.
Kyle and Alex, how do you guys approach that as a directing duo, and what is that partnership like for you guys?
I mean, it depends on the artist, but we also like to challenge ourselves sometimes, like to infuse our style in something that you wouldn't expect. So like, we did a Selena Gomez video, which
yeah, I love that video.
It's like so different from what we usually do, like, but it's kind of fun seeing how you can like infuse your style in something that people wouldn't expect. But then every once in a while you work with someone like, Grimes, who's like spot on with your style. So it kind of becomes this like really collaborative thing. Like I have a whole story about how I was on Zoom with her for 12 hours, like color grading with her. So, you know, like, so it really depends on the project, but we kind of like to keep the balance of like challenging ourselves to fit a certain musician style or working with people we think would just be a perfect match, you know. So.
And when you guys are working with each other, how does that creatively play out? Do you have sort of like a mind meld at this point, or is it something where you're splitting responsibilities across videos?
I mean, you mean with Kyle? Me and Kyle?
With Kyle,
I mean, we're like the same brain now, you know. Like we've been doing this since we were like I was 20, he was 21, like doing this for a while. So we kind of it's almost like we're the same people, but times 2 now at this point. So it's just like a seamless process, really.
It's super useful for, you know, music videos, commercials, you know, being able to tackle so many different things, because it is such a big process from, you know, when a brief comes in, pitching, to then the whole, you know, production process, and then we do post as well. So yeah, for us, having 2 people is awesome.
Sontenish, on your video, how did you balance the performance with the choreography that's worked throughout? I guess what came first? Was the choreography sort of the starting point for you, or was how that would work with the band's performance?
Well, that was a bit of an evolution. I think the brief was briefless. I think it was a blank canvas, actually. So then the narrative that you see is pretty much what I pitched, but it was with older dancers, actually, because I wanted it to be like this ancestral vibes. But then, I was told that the band wasn't going to be in the video, but then it kind of ended up playing out that way later, which I can't imagine the video without them. But I worked with Maya Alexis on the choreography, who choreographs a lot of like Solange's videos, and she's based in New Orleans. And New Orleans has such like a committed community, and Tank and the Bangas is New Orleans, and so they really pull up for each other. And so the choreography is really like your introduction into the world. And I loved that Tank was like, nah, I don't need to be there in like the beginning of the video. Like let's show up later. So it was a really great collaboration and just working intuitively with Maya. So Maya kind of like had like her first draft, and then I came into the rehearsals. We found Del, who's the little boy. We found him on gosh, I'm trying to remember the name of the Instagram. I think it's called like Itchy Videos, and they post second line dancing. I don't know if you guys know what second line dancing is in New Orleans, but that's like a very specific type of dancing. And my producer, Alexandra Kern, who is also from New Orleans, she just sent me a picture of this little black boy just second line dancing like nobody's watching. And we were just like, whose child is this? And so we just started commenting like crazy, and like we were just like stalking everybody, and everybody knew who he was. They were like, go Del, go Del. And we were like, how do y'all know who he is? And then whoever runs the Itchy profile DM'd me and was like, yo, here's Del's number. You trying to get in touch with him, right? So then I met with Del's mom, and the next thing you know, Del was in the music video. And what I loved about him, and we had seen like a lot of kids, what I loved about him was I had thought that I wanted kind of this cheery, kind of more like happy-go-lucky kind of looking kid, because the song, I wanted it to be a feeling of joy, even though the lyrics are about kind of generational experiences. But he had like this quietness about him, and we did some like camera tests in his parents' apartment, and the way his facial expressions just look in slow-mo are just so dreamy. So he really set the tone, and I had to also contort the choreography to his energy. Like he wasn't gonna smile when you asked him to smile. Like you had to like figure out what makes him feel joyful, and it's dancing. And so I hope that answers your question, but I would feel like it starts off with Del, and then Maya doing what she does, and then Tank being how she is, and it just kind of all blended together really beautifully.
Cool. Yeah, no, he's amazing. Stephen, what are there identifiable trends you're seeing in briefs right now? This kind of like open brief thing, is that you feel like the most common form of it now, or are you seeing artists come in like with Josefina's video where there's very specific mapped out ideas for the campaign? And do people want single directors across multiple videos to tackle it holistically, or is it still kind of like an open brief per director thing you're seeing at the moment more?
I don't remember the tank brief being open. Was it open?
It was.
It was? Damn, I'm lazy. No, ideally you go out with something that's a jumping off point and that is enough to let a creative person get creative with it. You don't want a brief that's too specific, that boxes shit in, because then you wind up with 10 ideas which are all exactly the same and you have no choices. So ideally the brief is open enough where people have room to go where they want to go. Like the tank video, for example, which is something that I commissioned and Sontenish crushed it, was just the mantra for that was just let creative people be creative. And I think we were pretty hands-off in terms of most of the video, and we were deferring to the artist, and we were deferring to production, and just making sure that everything just stayed moving forward, you know? In terms of trends, it's really hard to say. Like, I was just saying to a friend here that I'm noticing a lot of very stylized edits right now, which I think is just a way to cover lack of production funds sometimes. You know, like shit's just like things are just cut really with a lot of complexity to it, you know? I think that's a trend that's going on. You know, budgets aren't too friendly these days. That's a trend that's going on. You know, I mean, those are the big ones that I'm seeing.
We did like a panel in LA a couple months ago with a few people that worked in the 90s at Interscope and at the MVPA, and they were all talking about the $500,000 like median budget that they would work with per video in 1995, and yeah, taking private jets to set for your Michael Jackson video, and everyone knows what that's like.
Totally.
Dean,
Agreed.
what are you guys looking for at Fellow? When you guys decide to take a music video project on, or when something comes in and you're passing it along to different directors on the roster, what are you looking for specifically in a video? And I guess also for directors that are, you know, looking to join production company rosters, when does that make sense for them in their career? What do you think the right moment is for somebody to join a roster?
Yeah, to your first question, it's a lot of different things. I think for some people, you know, everybody has a wish list of artists. So if it's that artist, you know, they don't care if 10 people are pitching, they're gonna write because it's been a goal of theirs. Other times it's sort of the opposite of the 10 people. If there's like direct engagement and you know that you actually have a fair shot and you're busy, you're actually gonna put the time in to write the treatment and the pitch, because, you know, it can take several days. It's a lot of work for directors. For others, some people just listen to the song and they're like, if the song is good, then all right. So, you know, there's tons of, and budget, you know, there's some where it's like, okay, well, let's say for director X, if it's a big pop artist and they have enough money to support a big vision of his, then he's gonna engage. So tons of different reasons. To your second question, I think, maybe I'm wrong, but I think a lot of directors maybe think that signing to a production company is like the be-all and end-all goal. But I think new directors, young directors have a huge advantage because budgets are tight, and a lot of times we get a brief in, and I don't make bids, but my business partner, Fulion, who makes bids, is just like, what the fuck am I gonna do with this $30K budget? And I think a lot of younger directors are like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is the most money I've ever had, and I can go crazy. So I think you need to cultivate, you need to tap into that advantage that you have as a young director, or I shouldn't say young, but an inexperienced, or a director who's growing their reel, rather. And when production companies start calling you, you know, I think getting incoming calls is good, because that means they actually think they can add value. And if you have interest in the commercial space or the film space, you know, that a production company can start opening up those doors for you. But I do want to emphasize the advantage that I think inexperienced directors have with working nimbly and sort of edging out, you know, heavier operations like a big production company.
How is it handling a collaboration between two major artists on the La Fama video? This is a Rosalia video first and foremost, right? So is that driving that, or is there sort of equal input coming from the Weekends camp? What is it like balancing that?
Yeah, I think each collaboration is different. You know, for that one, Rosalia, like, incredible artist. She's super hands-on, so she's very involved with the creative from beginning to end. So her and X would work on stuff, and then you know, when the Weekend would get involved, it was really for like, hey, are you cool doing this? There was one treatment, I think it was one treatment where we sent it to him. She was stoked, X was stoked, and he didn't really want to do it, so we had to go back to the drawing board. But I think typically, you know, the artist it's their song, not the featured artist, will take lead. But you know, I've seen with Drake, a lot of his productions, if it's he's the featured artist, if it's with like Future or DJ Khaled or someone like that, then he's just kind of like having fun, and he runs the show, and he's like, I had this idea that I want you to do, and he'll kind of like almost creative direct the music video, even though he's just a featured artist. So it can work in a variety of ways, but those are some examples.
Cool. All the directors, do you guys have advice for younger directors entering the industry at this moment? Because it feels like there are a lot of new opportunities that didn't exist before. I think things like TikTok, which have been sort of like also an existential threat to music videos in some capacity, have also, you know, different platforms like that have also opened up windows of opportunity for people. And like, you know, last time we did one of these discussions, we sort of came into it being like, oh God, TikTok, it's like the asteroid that's gonna destroy the music video landscape. But there were, you know, a lot of people from the label side who were like, no, this actually has democratized certain forms of music video making, and being able to be a teenager in a small town and make something that gets you pulled into making a music video for somebody, or work with an artist that's broken that way and then come into the industry through having worked with an artist that gets pulled in through something like TikTok, as where, you know, it's easy to also look at it and say like, this has devastated economically certain sectors of the music landscape. So I'm curious what you guys think in terms of opportunities now and ways in for people. Start with Blythe if you want.
Well, I just got on TikTok, so I don't have a lot to say in that regard.
You guys don't have to talk about TikTok. Also, that was
no. I mean,
you know,
I was very lucky. I had a YouTube video go viral in 2014 when I got my start right out of college, and you know, I was in Nashville, and it was a smaller industry then, film, and I feel like I got really lucky with the timing. But before that, you know, my friends and I, we were in college. I went to a music school, but I was the one with the camera, and we were just messing around in a dorm room. They'd play music, and we'd film it, and we're just friends getting excited by ideas, and then we would just keep going. We're getting up for sunrise. It's really all the cliches you hear, but find a friend that you get excited about the same stuff, and it's actually really awesome that you can get away with, you know, iPhone or VHS. Like, you don't need a $4,000 camera at all. You don't need any of that. That stuff will all come, but it's really just getting excited by ideas, and I think it's always better. It's more exciting when you have a friend to do that with. That's what really helped me. And then those friends became artists, and those relationships grew and kind of bounced around. But like, I mean, here's a really random thing that actually was a huge help in my career. I don't know if it's relevant anymore, but I wanted to go to a show. It was sold out in Nashville, small bar. And my friend had told me once, well, go on Facebook and look up the about, and you'll find a manager's email. And so I did that. I found it, and I was like, I'll come do this. He's like, okay, cool. And then I was connected with Columbia Records in New York, and show up, do a good job, get funky, get weird with your camera. And it's still my longest relationship now. So it's like, things are more tangible than you think they are. And so it's, honestly, youth is a great thing. Now I feel like as I get older, I know too much about, again, my own way about when to just go for it or not. So just do it. Just, you know, reach out, be annoying. Like, it never actually is on the other side of it.
Are we just going down the line? Okay. I mean, for me, I think music videos, even if you have narrative aspirations, I think music videos have an ease to making them versus, like, you don't need to record sound unless you're trying to do something that's diegetic. You get to have so much more fun with the edit. You get to kind of make the own psychological narrative rules. But I made my first music video. I met this indie Nigerian artist at Black Star Film Festival in Philly, and she just watched my short and just asked if I would direct her first music video. And that was kind of my first way in, and it was a lot of learning. But I started to understand like what I could benefit from exploring this medium and what I have to offer. And so I think I used to like roll my eyes when I used to hear this answer at Q&As, like, oh, just like make things with your friends. But it's just so true. It's just like make things with your friends. Like, don't feel like you have to reach upward to create. Like, really just like see who responds to you when you're in a room and who just responds to your work. Don't feel like you have to like go to that person who's a little aloof and a lot of people are asking them questions on the other side of the room. Like, why don't like really attune yourself to this person who's engaging you and responding to you, and that's how you're like what you're seeking will seek you out as well. And so that's a little bit of what I think.
Josefine, what was your process like getting into music videos?
I come from like photography background, so I was shooting photos for a lot of indie artists in like the New York music scene that I just got into because I also was a production designer, still am sometimes. But that's kind of how I met some artists on like, again, indie stuff. Like my friends who were film majors in college, I would production design like their thesis films, and then they would get a music video and I would production design it. And then I met artists and they were like, oh, I see you do photography. Do you want to shoot some like promo for me? And I would. And then the scene's kind of small and Instagram is very real. And if they post your stuff and other people like it, other artists follow them. And it's kind of just like a snowball. And, you know, the jump from photographing artists to directing music videos is pretty clear cut. There was an artist that I had shot and I had a good relationship with her. And well, I actually had done a music video before that and it went so bad that I was like, yeah, I'm good. I actually don't need to direct. I was like, I don't need to do this anymore. This was so bad. But then like a year later, I was like, okay, I'm ready to try this out again. And an artist that I had a good relationship with through like shooting her, she asked me to shoot BTS on a music video that she had gotten some budget for. And I was like, oh, like, maybe I should direct it if you don't have a director yet. And she was like, yeah, I would love for you to direct it. And that was the first thing I did that had like a little bit more money behind it. And I had a really great team of people helping me out who I had met through production designing on other music videos, like a really great DP, a great producer, and just like they really helped me make something that I never really thought that I could do. And that went so well that I was like, oh my God, like, this is actually what I need to do. And yeah, it just kind of just kept going from there. But yeah.
Yeah, I'd say my biggest piece of advice to young directors trying to break into music videos or the space in general would be just to really push yourself to come up with, you know, different ideas. Like Steve had said, you know, they'll get 10 pitches in for a music video and all the ideas are the same. It's like, even us, like every job that comes in, we really dive in and, you know, push ourselves to come up with things that, you know, we haven't done before, or, you know, we don't like to stagnate or use the same tricks over and over. It's really important to continue to evolve at every level, and the industry is also changing so quick. Like, look at AI now and whatnot. I think it's important to tap into everything that's available to you to stand out, basically. It's really the only way forward.
Do you guys feel like AI is a usable tool now for video directors?
Yeah, I mean,
Definitely.
we just used one. We used AI techniques for the Joji video that was played. Like, yeah, I mean, I think nowadays too, it's like everything's so much more accessible. Even when we first started, I mean, when we first started, the red was kind of new, and we were like, you know, that was like kind of you know, we were excited when we first shot with the red. You know, like now it's like you kind of have all the gear, so like just get really good with the gear and, you know, learn all you can. There's a lot of outlets. I mean, we learned most of our stuff on YouTube, so I think there's a clear advantage for younger directors now. But it's also super saturated, so I mean, what Kyle said, it's like try to execute ideas that are unique, so you know you stand out amongst the crowd because it is saturated.
You know, I think a lot of directors lean really heavily on like Pinterest and things like that. You have to, you know, push beyond that.
Sometimes you have to do a Google image search.
Yeah.
You know, like you gotta.
Yeah, I think there's a sort of uniformity across a lot of videos because of these image libraries that people are pulling from, and then like the more people pull those images, the more those just get pushed to the top of the algorithm, and all videos start to have these like Pinterest looks.
Or if you see something, just like be like, how could I do that thing differently? You know what I mean? Like, don't just rip it off. Just like try to do it in a different way. Put your own spin on it. Like, that's our philosophy for sure, you know. Or if you're inspired by something, and dig deep, like dig in the past, you know, like older stuff, and try to do it in a new way. Like that's something you know we do a lot. So
I read a quote about writing once, but I feel like it kind of goes towards creativity as well. It's just like the act of writing is based on how alive you're willing to be. And I feel like that's the same thing with creativity. Like a lot of the things that I end up pulling from, or when I'm like kind of mining, like, okay, like how do I want to approach this treatment? I actually kind of just review like my Tumblr, just like shit that I just am liking all the time, or this gallery that I was just at last week, or this incredible conversation I had with this individual I don't think I would have met had I not gone to this thing that felt thematically aligned with these lyrics, and that kind of gives me a concept idea that way. So I feel like, especially when you're working in such a time-demanding industry, you really kind of have to be active about still being in the world, because if you're trying to offer something to it, you need to receive from it, perceive it. Like, it's like you have to kind of be with people if you want to make things for people, I think. And so I feel like the quality of my work is often based on, I feel like in order to output, I have to input. And yeah, so that's kind of what you shared made me think of also.
How often do you guys get actual conversations in advance with the artists before you're, or you know, how deep can you go with them before you get into shooting a video? Because I think a lot of people have experiences where they do a video where they show up to set and the artist has sometimes not even read a treatment, or you know, they'll come in like the first time they've heard what the video is when they step onto set, which is a management issue a lot of the time, but it does happen. Yeah, Steven.
I mean, one of my first videos that I commissioned, the artist walked on set and said, "I'm not fucking doing a green screen video," and then walked off. And the first line of the treatment was, "This is a green screen video." So, you know, there's nothing better than letting artists talk to artists, and that's when the best shit happens. And you want to get to a place where that can happen, and sometimes there's barriers to that, and sometimes you just have to persevere. But like Brother was saying, you know, like the access that people have right now is massive. Like, you know, like you could get in touch with any record label you want to get in touch with. You can get in touch with any management you want to get in touch with. And you can even get in touch with a lot of artists directly. And, you know, like you can definitely chart your own path. But yeah, there are examples that I know of where, you know, artists aren't too tuned in, and it's just part of the way it goes.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of times where the artist is just, you know, don't know what's going on at all. So it's I think the important thing is like giving the directors some time to treat on it. You know, like sometimes it'll be like the treatment is due, like this amazing project, you know, good budget, treatment is due like tomorrow or like day after tomorrow, and it's like we want to treat on it, but that's like so little time. Like often we are also multitasking, so it's kind of hard to just, you know, spit out an amazing idea in just like 1 or 2 days, and you have to put the treatment together. So it's like it's a lot of work, but yeah, I mean, I think
That's a big part of it too. Like the actual treatment presentation is super important, because you could have a really good idea, but if it's not presented in a way that the artist can grasp it and actually, you know, wants to read it. Like, I think too many treatments are way too long. Like, they're just boring to read, and that's how the artist feels. So I think keeping things like concise is super important.
I mean, we usually have long treatments,
Yeah,
so we're talking about ourselves.
Yeah.
We're always like, why aren't they reading this? It's crazy. But yeah, it's like
It's a new
like,
development.
I mean, I think you just have to be more image-based, really. Yeah, it sucks, but like, you can dive deeper later, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like every time I write a treatment, I'm like, all right, I'm going to keep this one short. Like, we're keeping it short. And then it's like, boom, 50 pages. I'm like, no. So I trim it back. I don't actually submit 50-page treatments. But I think the biggest thing that I've been, like, realizing, like, coming, like, I started this through not really pitching much, like, having artists reach out to me, like, that, and be like, okay, let's cultivate, like, what do we want to do? And then to getting sent, like, from commissioners and things to pitch on and briefs, and just, it's like, you have one day to write on this, it's completely open, and here's the artist that you've never heard of before. And it's like, and there's nothing I can find on them. It's like, okay, well, how am I supposed to know, like, what to say? Like, it's just like, when there's nothing there, it feels like, it's like I can just pitch them like a dream video that I want to do, but like, how will I know if they want to do it? And of course it's like, you just hope. But I think what I always prefer, and I think the way that I make like the best work is when it's like a direct relationship with the artist, and where I like know the artist, or at least like I can talk to them for some time and really be like, okay, like, here's what I'm thinking, like, how do you feel about this? Or like, what does the song like mean to you? Like, what are even if they don't have any visual ideas, just like listening to them talk about like the reason they wrote the song, or like what's the meaning behind it. It's just like, okay, like now I get you, like now I can jump off of that. And I think I always make like my favorite work and my most rewarding work is when I actually get to like collaborate in a way with the artist and just really like talk to them and pitch them things, and they can be like, oh my God, I'm so excited about this. This is awesome. And then, you know, the next day they'll come back, they'll be like, oh, well, what if we did this in there too? I'm like, yeah, that's sick. Let's do it, you know, and things like that. And that's always like when I feel like the strongest and like the most excited and the best about the outcome, versus like when I've gotten things where I've pitched on and I've pitched an idea and I've won it and it's been sick and it's still been great. But I think the most rewarding thing is like when you have those single bids or when you have that relationship. That's like always my goal in doing that, if I can talk to them, and if I can't, just like doing as much research as I can on the artist to try to get a sense of what they would want and what their vibe is. But you can only, you know, really tell so much.
Yeah, I agree with everything everyone's saying. I think I've gone both ways, where I've, you know, not talked to an artist before. That's pretty rare. I'll usually at least ask for the time, even if it's a awkward group Zoom call. Or I've had it where it's been like way too much communication. Again, I think there's like over directing and over communicating is such a thing, and like any relationship, trying to have boundaries and respect for each other, and it trickles down to your crew. Like, you don't want to be breathing down your DP's neck every single second, just like you don't want the artist to do that to you. And I feel like there's a balance to kind of find where trust has to come into play. And I know I think especially when I was younger, it was something really small someone said to me, because I guess I was doing it wrong. But I was, you know, before you maybe know all the technical information, you're kind of just talking to the artist very romantically, and you're going to do all this and that. And they were kind of looking confused, and someone was like, yeah, we're talking like really conceptually, can we talk technically? And that was a simple line that really changed it for me, because I'm like, okay, you can talk really big, make really big swings, but also like artists, the bigger they get, the less time they have. They don't want to talk a million times over. Like, especially you'll get maybe an hour of their time. If you can just walk in, be like, you're going to sit here, you're going to look to the right, the light's going to do this. Like, if you can just kind of, they know the creative ideally, or give it a little short and sweet, but have that trust, feel their energy. I found that to be, listen to them. I get surprised how many times artists after a shoot will be surprised that I've listened to them, and it seems like everyone here does a good job of that. But don't get, to run away where you forget to check in with them, make them feel comfortable. But yeah, I think, set is so short, it goes so fast. It's trust with them and the other people on your team just to keep it moving.
Yeah, that being said about collaboration with artists, I think the most important thing is that like you're making what you want to make at the end of the day, and you're kind of like, especially if there's not as much budget involved, and especially if you're a younger director and you're kind of developing a style, you want to make sure that you're making something that you're going to put out and you're proud of, because you're going to put a lot of time into it, a lot of hours, you're going to put a lot of other people's time into it, and like obviously communicating with the artist, and then ideally through that communication you develop a level of trust where that artist trusts you, but you know, saying what you want and like being like, I think this will be cool, like I think this will make you better and music video better, and like all of these things, instead of just like always listening. Like there's like a very much like a dance there, but I think at the end of the day, making sure like you're fighting for what you want to make, and making something that you're excited about, because then in turn usually the artist hopefully will also be excited about it as well.
Cool. All right, we have a few minutes, and then we're going to open this up to a party. What are you guys excited about right now in music videos? Is there hope for the future of the music video? And why should we all keep doing this?
What am I excited about
Yeah.
music videos?
Yeah.
I'm excited for TikTok to go away. I never thought we'd be in a position where music videos is no longer the short form game, which is a really weird thing because that's what we've always been. But I'm excited about, I feel like there is a movement now towards trust and transparency in terms of what the process is. I love that we could all be on this panel and kind of talk about shit and talk about things beyond just, war stories, which we all have plenty of. And, like, you don't need anything fancy to make a creative music video. Like, like it's kind of a cliche to say that you can just use an iPhone and, and a free version of Premiere and make something really good, but you actually can, So, yeah, I think we're in an awkward phase right now, but I think something really cool can come out of it.
I think, like, for us, music videos are still the most inspiring thing. We've done a lot of commercials, but we always gravitate to music videos. We try to do at least 1 or 2 a year. So yeah, they're exciting, and it's where you can really, push yourself and come up with, ideas you haven't done before, and then that always leads to more things. To be able to do videos, you kind of, like, for us, we do commercials, and a lot of times we'll get commercials off of our videos. So yeah, they're important for sure.
I would also say, just like with music videos, you really set an artist's visual aesthetic. That's always super exciting. If there's an artist you're excited about, then like we just were able to do a video for Pink Panther. It's like, we were on her for a while, like we thought she was super cool. And it's like being able to be a part of that is always just so gratifying. But, it's always going to be a struggle, but I think there's definitely some payoffs in music videos. I think we just feel comfortable in them. We would do them all the time if we could, but yeah, I just think you really think about how you can set someone's visual aesthetic, and also really think about how you can do what you want to do at the same time. And yeah, it's honestly, it should be this thing it is really intense, but at the end of the day, it's the most gratifying medium we've partaken in. So,
Yeah, Steve was saying earlier, like, music videos, out of all mediums of film, probably have the lowest barrier to entry, and a big music video can change your life as a director. A big commercial, I don't know who would get that as a inexperienced director. A big music video, it can happen, and a small music video can blow up because music is such a strong cultural force. A big feature, it could be an indie that blows up. But again, I think music videos really have the power to launch careers. Yeah, I work with Karina Evans, and she did a video called God's Plan for Drake, and that was 5 years ago, but now she's doing TV with Donald Glover. I think, we do less and less music videos because the industry's really hard, but I still think they're an incredible medium, an incredible opportunity for directors. And I would also say I'm excited about where things are going. I think AI is going to be really cool. I think we're all scared of it, but I think it's going to be a really interesting tool. I think TikTok is great. I think it's inspiring a lot of interesting techniques. There's a guy on TikTok named Set Will Free, and he goes up to artists, like he will run up to them in the street and be like, "Can I shoot a music video for 20 minutes for free for you?" And the quality obviously isn't great, but it's just such an interesting time that you can do that. And he's gonna build, he already has a big following, and he's gonna continue to do that. And soon, he'll be Cole Bennett 2.0 or whatever. So I think the industry's in a cool place. We just need to embrace the change.
I feel like, I don't know, I've been doing music videos and music 10 years, music videos like 6. Definitely have hit walls with the way the industry is right now. It can definitely be a roller coaster. But I was honestly super inspired seeing the Daniels win this year. Seeing music video directors really come from this world. I think music video directors in the world can get a bad rap, like the memes we've all seen, the shitty memes about us and whatever, but of music videos, and it is a silly world, but they're really hard. The expectations have never been higher and the budget's never lower. People make amazing stuff when their back is against the wall, even though we should have better conditions. And I don't know, the Daniels, they definitely inspired me, and I want to see more music video directors make that jump. I think it showed the film industry too that the way you can move a camera can be a lot more exciting. And yeah, I'm excited to see the newer generation of directors and what they make to get inspired by them, and just hopefully just see more people making the jump. I think will be really cool.
I agree. I can't help but be optimistic. I trust change. Like, the pendulum is always swinging. I remember on the feature film side of things, people were like, your first feature script can't be longer than 90 minutes. And I feel like 2022 into 2023 was the year of 2-hour movies where these scripts had to have been over 100 pages. And I feel the same thing about music videos. Like TikTok, okay, we're experiencing things in the short format, but the pendulum is always going to swing in another direction, and then it's going to breathe again, and then it's going to get longer, and then it'll get shorter again, and somewhere in the middle. But one thing that I think we all can agree on is music ain't never going nowhere, and so and this medium is always going to move and ebb and flow with that. But I saw Gabriel Moses directed this kind of mini visual album for Little Sims a couple months ago, and that had me so inspired as to long form being welcome and experimental being welcome by viewers, and also just sharing the space with you guys keeps me optimistic. So I feel very good about what we're doing.
You want to take us home?
What was the question? I'm sorry.
What's inspiring you right now in the future
we've
videos?
branched, and I don't even know where to start. What was it?
What's inspiring you right now in music videos? How do you feel about the future of them?
I fuck with TikTok. I'm sorry, but I'm also I'm a child of the internet. That's what I grew up on. So it's kind of just what I know. Just each platform comes and it creates change. And like I said, I kind of wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for Instagram and people seeing my work and me putting it out there, and the right people seeing it at the right time and giving me opportunities that I wouldn't have even dreamed of or even thought to ask for. So I think it's really inspiring. Everyone was saying, it's just to see the different ways people are making things on TikTok, and just even if it's something as stupid as it's not a film thing or anything, but just the way people even do transitions and the way people move the iPhone through the things, it's just like, this is weird and like interesting and just, I don't know. I think everything is inspiration if you look for it, and TikTok is really cool and it's really inspiring. I think it's definitely hurt the music industry and the music videos, but I think music videos were already going down and TikTok just kind of like sped it up. But it's just different. It's just changing. There's just going to be less money, and like the bigger artists are going to be the only ones with the budgets. But I think within that, it's just about like getting creative and just like you said, like what can we do for no money? And like instead of like trying to do, I don't know, something I've learned is I'll be given money and it's more than I've been given before, and I'm like, holy shit. But it's like not that much money, and I don't realize that at the time because I was like, I had only been given like $5,000, and now you give me $20,000, and I'm like, oh my God. Like, call Roger Deakins. But we're not gonna be, it's like we still can't do anything with that. But instead of like stretching like every single limb and like trying to make everything happen for no money, it's like, okay, what can we do that's like actually really clever and simple? We can pay everyone and we can do something cool and different, and like always trying to, I don't know, figure out new ideas and ways to just like, I don't know, reinvent the music, reinvent things that have already been done, and just be more clever about it and not spend as much money. I don't know, it's different, it's changing, it's fun, it's cool, it's fresh, it's a movie.
Cool, thank you guys. Thank you for being on the panel. Thank you for sharing your work with us. If people don't know, WeDirectMusicVideos.com, there are a lot of resources on there. There's a treatment database that we started a couple years ago that collates treatments that we've collected from a ton of directors. So if people are just starting out, it's a great way to learn to write a treatment, which I think for a lot of people is a sort of obfuscated thing at the beginning of the process. But there's like 100 treatments on there, and they're a great resource to learn exactly how to make one. We are a volunteer organization. If you want to be involved, just come talk to me. Anybody can get involved. Anybody can help put events on. We're looking for more people in New York because the New York chapter is just booting back up. So if you want to be involved with the New York chapter, come talk to me and we will get you in the volunteer database. Sean?
First of all, thank you guys. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, all the panelists. And thank you to NeueHouse, Jean-Michel, Sarita, Eric, Andrew, the whole gang. This is really important to me personally on two levels. One, because I think that the future of, I care most about putting movies in front of audiences, and I think that our system for putting movies in front of audiences is broken, and I think that it's really important that we don't separate the music world, the video directors with the film directors. It's all, I mean, Daniels are the perfect example. That progression, I'm proud Emerson College graduate. It's amazing what they've done. And you guys are, you know, do it, like do all that stuff. Reunion, that's kind of the point of all of it. Like, I'm so happy to be doing an event like this alongside so many film events this week with Tribeca. Reunion started when I was at Apple Music, and I was commissioning and making videos. We did 4 Skrillex videos, and then we started a party together because we wanted to get our like downtown people with our Culver City people. And that's how Reunion started. And then I actually showed one of Jason's videos at a 2017 event when we started doing film. And we showed Sundance Films that same night. And a couple years later, I decided I didn't give a shit about the music industry anymore, and just wanted to make movies. And instead of just making them and begging people for money and begging people to program us and begging people to distribute us, I want to build it myself, and I want to have I want to have access to you guys directly. I want to be able to lift filmmakers directly. That's the point of all of this. So, Jason, it's so awesome to have all of these things together, and I love the turnout tonight. This is so cool, and thank you to NeueHouse for having us. And serious, I know that there's people in the room who want to work on things like this, so talk to Jason about getting involved. We have a couple more events this week, Tuesday, Saturday, Sunday, at Reunion, mailing list. A lot of you are on the WhatsApp. If you don't know about that, feel free to ask me. And yeah, tip your bartenders. Thanks so much for coming, everybody, and thank you to the panelists.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Let's give Sean Glass and Jason another amazing round of applause for putting together this amazing group of talented people. Sean's not going to say this a lot, but I've heard many stories about how this started, and this literally started because one person decided that what we were doing was way more important than what the industry said we should be doing. So if you haven't given him his flowers, please do. Thank you so much for bringing us together. Reunion is so much bigger than just an event. You are literally building the community, so thank you. If you have glassware, please bring it down to be safe. Otherwise, the house is yours till 9:59. Please enjoy the house. Have a good one, guys. Thank you.